Yes! What is up, everybody? And welcome to another fantastic edition of the Qué Golazo podcast. Today, we're talking about Juve taking the spoils against my Roma. What is even happening? That was an instant Serie A classic. And Inter Milan compounding Lazio's lousy run to reclaim the top spot. Host Cameroon got off to an indomitable start in AFCON. And the magic of the FA Cup saw Arsenal and the world's richest club, which I feel is a bit misleading because they haven't really spent any money at the first hurdle in the FA Cup third round. That really hurts my soul. I'm Jimmy Conrad. I'm here with Heath Pierce to talk through a weekend full of spills, thrills, and cup upsets. And a friend of the show, Christine Cupo, is back to talk some calcio and bask in the glory of the old ladies' 4-3 win. Qué Golazo weekend recap begins right now. All right, everybody, you know the deal. Hit like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, hit us up in the chat, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. If you've listened to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Go leave us a 5-star review. That would be very nice. Now, Heath, even though we think you're super handsome, we're going ladies first here. Christine, how are you? Great to see you as always.
I'm wonderful today, especially. Some good things happened earlier, so.
Here we go.
Way to
underplay it, Christine. Way to underplay it. Heath Pierce, how's Dubai?
It's late, but life is good. Can't complain. And happy to see your faces. I miss Luis, though. I will say I miss Luis.
I do. I'm a pinch hitter here, taking over for LME. We miss you, Luis Miguel Echegaray, and he'll be back in the saddle very, very soon, most likely tomorrow. So let's start not with the old lady, Christine, or Juve. Let's talk about the top of the table.
Jimmy,
leaders.
hold on, Jimmy. Isn't a pinch hitter a better version of?
That's not true. I'm pinching in. I'm hitting. You know what? Why are you putting me on blast right now?
I just wanted to clarify what you meant by that, but it's okay. Okay, there we go.
I'm super subbing right now.
Okay.
Producer Des put up the sub thing and switch numbers, and I'm coming in for Luis Miguel Echegaray.
I needed just some clarity before we moved on.
Okay, I appreciate you.
It's clear now.
Let's talk about Inter Milan Lazio, which I'm sure, much to the chagrin of Christine, because she's a supporter of Juventus. We got to talk about the top of the table leaders doing the business today against Lazio. Very professional. Edin Dzeko didn't even start this game, but they still got it done. What were your thoughts on this game, Christine?
Absolutely dominant Inter performance again. When you have your center back banging goals and assisting, I feel like they have so many options at this point, despite the fact that they've been bopping around in first and second in the table since the season started, that there's no doubt in my mind that they'll end up winning the Scudetto this season.
Oh, wow. Flag is in the ground. We still got plenty of time. No love or respect for AC Milan. We'll get into their performance as well. But let's talk a little bit Inter and Lazio some more. Heath Pierce, what were your thoughts from this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Christine is spot on. It was dominant. When I look back again at this time last year, I think it was their first game back from the new year. They lost to Sampdoria, and then they went on a run where they ended up losing to Juventus at the end of the year, but they had already wrapped up the title. They had a few draws in there, but they were pretty dominant, mostly low-scoring, well-defended matches that they went on the run. And the reason I say that is because I have this trauma of basically AC Milan, who were ahead of Inter going into this point of last year, falling apart, and then same thing happening right now. Obviously, AC Milan are keeping pace. Inter Milan have a game in hand, I believe, but it's not looking good for anybody else. And while I do think it's a bit of a hot take for Christine to put it out there right now that they're going to win the Scudetto, it's hard to argue against that because I don't see Juventus coming back down 3-1 every match to be able to chase after a trophy themselves.
I wish.
That was the 8th straight win for Inter in league play. And I think Christine's maybe doing a reverse jinx here. Just throwing that out there, everybody. Now, Inter have also picked up 49 points after 20 Serie A games played for the first time since the 2007-2008 season. And I think they have everything that they need. I'm just going to chime in with my 2 cents. They seem very well balanced. I actually saw an Alexis Sanchez, or a version of Alexis Sanchez, from 6 years ago. The guy was on fire and really influential in this game. And I thought actually when he sent Lautaro Martinez in, that should have been onside. So this goal difference could have been a little bit. Just let's talk, Christine, a little bit about Lazio, because Maurizio Sarri's the guy. Do you think he's going to last as manager throughout the rest of the season? Because they can score goals. Ciro, the hero Immobile, scored his 15th in league play, but they defend. I mean, it's almost as bad as Roma's defending. I'm just going to throw that out there. Another team from Rome.
I was recently asked who I thought would be the first wild card to just get punted and sacked and I think it would be sorry, honestly. Though I don't think that anyone right now is itching particularly to sack their manager. The thing with Sarri is people continue to hire him despite the fact that he has a very particular system and it takes time. So if you're not going to afford him with that patience, then it's kind of, why would you throw away half your season? So that's my only reason that I kind of hinge on, I think he's safe for now. But I mean, Serie A is volatile.
It is. There's a lot of goals. I mean, Atalanta won 6-2, Sassuolo won 5-1. I mean, this is the league to watch. And okay, maybe we're a little biased. It's on Paramount Plus, but still, it is an unbelievable league and super entertaining. So let's segue, Heath Pierce, from Lazio's poor defending to Roma's poor defending. As everyone maybe you don't know, but I support Roma, and it's been very painful to watch them perform like this. Now, I just got to throw this stat out there. I wrote it down. That's what I wanted to say. So Mourinho has managed as a professional coach 1,024 games. This is only the second time out of those 1,024 that he's lost after having a 2-goal lead. The first time was in 2015 when Chelsea was up 2-0 over Bradford City and they lost 4-2. And now in the 70th minute, it's so unacceptable. And after the game, Jose Mourinho said that his players have a weak mentality. And they can't disagree with him. I'm okay with him throwing them under the bus because that was crap. I don't know how to say crap well, maybe I do in Italian, but I'm going to save it. Maybe there's kids watching. Heath, what were your thoughts on Roma's capitulation against Juventus?
I again think it's a Mourinho issue more than anything. Obviously, the players are weak-minded, but to be able to have a lead like that and then to give it up again, you're talking about a Juventus side, but it wasn't exactly like Juventus were incredible from start to finish, and that they were dominant, and that it was just lucky that Roma found themselves up 3-1. I mean, it was a pretty convincing performance from Roma to the point that I was like, okay, this is Roma's game, like anybody else thought that were watching the match. And then to see Juventus come back into this one, and you could see it kind of mounting and building, and it just felt like usually you start to see a little bit of shift. And, Jimmy, there's like this 5-10 minute window where you have to survive when you're up 3-1 or 3-2 and the game settles, they get one back and it settles down. But at no point did it feel like Roma ever were able to settle back into it when it went to 3-2 to the point where it just kept on going and going. And it could have been even worse. And I think about the mentality of the players. If I'm in the locker room and I'm listening to Jose Mourinho, up 3-1, you're in a good spot. But I have this fear in the back of my mind of like, what happens if you let Dad down, and Dad's going to come in and yell at us again. And I feel like, again, this is an end of an era for this type of manager. And it's really hard to motivate these players. Again, when I look at Maitland-Niles and, again, all the English players that are coming into the squad, they should be able to handle this high-pressure situation. But it felt like they just sort of folded it and collapsed in a similar fashion that they've done at other points this season.
I'm going to get emotional. I'm just going to throw it over then to Christine because I don't know if I want to continue to dance in the waters or swim in the waters of Roma. Juventus, though, what a comeback. I'm sure at the 70th minute before, Locatelli scored to make it 3-2. Christine, maybe you threw in the towel at that point. Like this wasn't Juve's day, but they found a way to get back into it.
If I'm being entirely honest, when I saw that we were playing both De Sciglio and Rugani, I thought we were done. That was even before we even got on the pitch. So I was already starting off with kind of scratch the head where it was like, wait, the betting lines and sites all have Juve winning, which I figured, fine, maybe Juve will win, but it'll be a boring match. And then it seemed like they were going to get hammered. I think that the game flipped a lot. Even Roma, Smalling didn't have his best game. Cristante was being played out of position. Maitland-Niles also not his best game. But Juve somehow, I don't know what the pep talk was, but they scored 3 goals in 7 minutes. I'll take that all season. If you want to give me a heart attack, kill me that way.
That's not the Juve that I've come to know and love, especially under Maxi Allegri. Where are all the 1-0 results?
Yeah, I'm sure you're enjoying
the
resurgence of Allegri's.
Maybe because he wasn't on the sideline today. Maybe that proved to be the difference.
Maybe that is it. The proximity to the actual touchline. The further he gets, the better they play. Yeah. Maybe it's some like reverse sort of juju they have going on. Like instead of like an Inter is like Conte to Inzaghi, which has been like the perfect formula. It's like the Pirlo to Allegri back from Allegri. Is maybe it's just a bad cadence. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's give some love to Szczesny because he end up shipping 3 goals, but he saved a big penalty there against Lorenzo Pellegrini. What are your thoughts on him overall? Because I think well, this goes for most teams. You're only as good as your goalkeeper. Your goalkeeper is going to take you as far. If you're going to win anything of consequence, you got to have somebody between the sticks that's making saves. Do you think he has enough to help Juve get top 4? I'm sure you're thinking Juve top 4 at this point.
I think we will still finish top 4, only because they do manage to struggle it out and get there with Allegri. If we did it with Pirlo in an unfurling pandemic, surely we can do it again with Allegri. With that being said, I feel like confidence in Tech has waned. He isn't always that guy. He doesn't always seem to be in control or projecting the confidence that they need as a squad. But he also stepped into Gigi's shoes. So I feel like that's kind of a hard, when you're not as seasoned as, say, like your Bonucci and Chiellini together, whereas Gigi always felt like the dad.
Right. Plus, he's a former Arsenal player. So, I mean, the bar can only be so high. You know what I'm talking about? He knows what I'm talking about.
Jimmy, I will say this. Let me say this real quick, Jimmy. Speaking of goalkeepers, here's a fun fact for you, Jimmy, and this is for your team here. Rui Patricio has conceded 3 or more goals in a league match 6 times this season. I mean,
you love him.
When you talk about
entertainment value times 10.
Yeah, but when you talk about a team collapse, I mean, if you look at that back line, you're talking about experienced players. And again, I know it's Juventus, but contextually, if they were to just lose 2-0 or something like that, I'd say, okay, I get it. You know, it's Roma versus Juventus. Juventus on any given day could rise to the occasion and have a dominant performance and something like that. But to be up 3-1 and to fall apart like that, I look at that back line and I look at that goalkeeper and I go, what? I mean, something's got to give, Jimmy.
For me, I mean, we can go at Maitland-Niles a little bit, but new league, new team. I understand there's going to be
new
some
players shuffling. Yeah.
But even as the 23-year-old Brazilian center back, every time I watch him, that dude is trash. I don't know how to say trash in Italian, but he's trash. Basura is what I want to say in Espanol. I think the dude's overrated. And there's no presence about him. Mancini can be in there, like their back line, Smalling, okay, pretty solid, all things considered, but he needs a partner, I think, that's a little bit better than him to get the best out of Smalling. It can't be the other way. Anyway, I don't want to get into the weeds in this. Everybody, let me know. Call to action for you that are watching live. Let us know right now. Will Juve finish top 4? Yes or no? Put a Y for yes and an N for no. It's pretty easy. It's how we try to keep things simple here. So let's talk about some other. While you guys are answering that, Keith, let's go into Milan versus Venezia. No Tanner Tessman in this particular game. What I find interesting is that Venezia had their game canceled and postponed, and Venezia showed up to the game, and the other team didn't show up, so the game got canceled, postponed, whatever.
So, so it technically right now is a forfeit per the Italian health authorities, but I have no doubt in my mind that they will appeal that and win the appeal. So that will probably be scheduled for like the least opportune moment.
But Venezia put their starting lineup on a graphic and like did all the things to be like, you know, when they teach you like your first job where it's like, make sure you document it, like send it in an email so everyone can read it. Like they did everything, including the social team being like, make sure this exists because we're going to get these points.
Okay. I just want to say that Tanner Tessman theoretically should have served his 1-game suspension in that game. So he would have been available today against AC Milan. And the Serie A said, no, he's got to serve it against Milan. I just think that's a bit of a joke. I've seen a lot of Juves will finish top 4. I saw Natalie. What's up, Natalie? Saying, no, they will not finish top 4. Christine's going to have some strong words for you. Christine, go ahead.
No, I think that I agree with you. I didn't realize that they hadn't counted that for Tessman. That's bizarre.
It is bizarre.
If that's technically a forfeit, that's a match played.
Thank you very much. But Serie A, making rules as they go. That should be their new tagline. Actually, a lot of leagues are making things up as they go. So let's talk about this performance. Heath, I'll come to you first. Zlatan scores in the 2nd minute. They get a couple other goals from Teo Hernandez. I want to give a shout out to Rafael Leao because when he plays for Milan, they're just different. They're more unpredictable. Teams can't just like load up on Zlatan or Brahim Diaz. They just have so much more. There's so much more dynamic when he's on the field. He missed out on a month from mid-December, or excuse me, early December to early January, and they only won 1 out of their 4 games. He comes back. He's already got a goal. He got 2 assists today. Now, Zlatan's going to get a lot of the attention, but I just want to give a shout out to Rafael Leao. What did you see out there today?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the obvious missing of Kessie, I mean, Brahim Diaz back in again, Rafael Leao. I mean, we talked about the future of this club and that they have this youth. And then they lack this depth. And that's the 2 issues with Leao out. They obviously lack a replacement for him. But overall, I mean, it was a dominant performance for AC Milan in this one. And it's great to see Zlatan. Again, my theory still holds. And I still believe strongly that Zlatan is only as strong as, or the team is only as strong as Zlatan is, and that's a lot to rely upon him for a player his age, because all of the headlines will always be when Zlatan scores, Zlatan continues to score. But when you watch the team play, it's like having Ronaldo on the field, where it's just different. You have to have a team catering to him, and when it works, it's great. But I don't know if this is a recipe to be able to go punch for punch with Inter Milan, and could even see themselves falling into a third place again somewhere along in the season, because you're just relying on all your goals to come from a player that you're not going to be able to play every single game. And then again, the style of the play when he's on the field is different than when he's off the field, and it makes it a lot less predictable for a player like Brahim Diaz to know, where do I press? When do I drop? What's happening around me? He does do a good job of making it somewhat predictable given that his age and whatnot, but you are still playing sort of down a man as soon as the ball goes in transition.
Christine, of all the other games that we saw, which one stood out for you? Anything, final thoughts on Serie A before we let you go in particular? Is it Sassuolo winning 5-1? Very impressive performance from them.
I mean, that was really impressive.
Atalanta 6-2 against a pretty solid Udinese team. Napoli getting the 1-0 win despite being decimated with injury. There's so many choices here for you. I'll give you a buffet of options. Which one do you like?
The options are delightful, Jimmy. I have to go Juve Roma, because Roma seems to have fallen the hardest so far. They went from 5th to 7th or 4th to 7th before the break for Christmas. So that one seems to be the most telling. They've got a lot of climbing to do. Relegation zone hasn't changed much. Looking forward to, I guess, the previously requested Supercopa delay or rescheduling, but that'll be an interesting game for us on Wednesday.
Yeah, it should be some great games again in Italy, whether it's a cup competition or if it's in the league. But now we welcome back. I'm done pinch hitting everybody.
Wait, how come nobody's talking about Salernitana getting the W? Big W.
Because I want to talk about Luis Miguel Echegaray returning to the screens. What's up, LME? How are you?
You did such a good job, Jimmy Conrad. I felt so bad coming back. Thank you so much. By the way,
I'm just warming the seat. It's all
now, I'm looking at all the three screens and I'm like, this is too much of a handsome show for me to even come. You know what I was doing? I was Instagram talking with Felipe Coutinho, so I was a little bit late. So apology for that. Christine Cooper, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Just before you leave, I know any quick thoughts on your Arsenal, because you are celebrating on Juventus, but anything on your Arsenal?
This is the pleasure pain balance that I like to maintain in my life. I am going to take in that we'll call it regret and sadness later tonight. But right now I'm still buzzing, so we're not coming down yet.
Buzz away, Christine Cooper. 4-3 to Juventus, an absolutely fantastic victory. By the way, thank you so much for being part of the show. And Jimmy Conrad, I appreciate you, brother. You always step in when you can. I love it. I know that Heath Pierce is still locked away in that Foot Locker in Dubai. But I do appreciate it. Christine Cooper, final thoughts before you say goodbye on anything, before we say goodbye, anything that you're up to, that you're cooking up to these days.
Anything at all. That I'm just pouring incessant amounts of calcio in my eyeballs. So you can catch me tweeting away and then talking about it on various Twitch and YouTube channels. But happy to join you guys today. Lovely to see your smiling faces. And everybody check out Supercopa on Wednesday. Juve Inter. So
absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
Well said, Christine Cooper. See Cupo on Twitter. Make sure that you follow her. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. Jimmy, I got to tell you, you killed it once again, brother. I feel kind of bad coming back. You good?
No, you shouldn't. I just tried to channel my inner LME energy, and here we are.
I love it. I love it. Heath Pierce, you haven't said much yet. Are you kind of mad that I'm back?
Yeah, dude. No, Jimmy, like, he called himself a pinch hitter, and I wanted to clarify while you were trying to figure it out what he meant, because in most cases, I remember a pinch hitter being somebody that stepped in as generally an improvement, right? A pinch hitter, say, for a pitcher, or in a bind, so to speak, but a better version. But I actually did a little research. I mean, it turns out
it's more about situational sub.
In a bind is the key, I think. In a bind. Yeah. And we were in a bind.
Yes, we were in a bind, and Jimmy stepped up and pinch hit.
That's what he did.
And so now I have no more quarrels or comms. I had to research it. I'm on Wikipedia right now. And it just talks about emergency situations, Jimmy. It doesn't talk about.
That's right. So I
equality
laid down a
comparison.
bunt and legged it out to first, and I'm safe. Okay.
And you did it. And we're so close. We're so close to the World Series. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad I'm here. I apologize. I had some technical difficulties, but we got through it. And now we continue. We have said goodbye to Serie A, and now I will allow Jimmy to really do what he does best, which is analysis with our friend Heath Pierce as well. And by the way, the USMNT Hour as well tomorrow with our friend Grant Wall. So that should be a good one too. But let's talk about the FA Cup third round. Obviously, the most entertaining, arguably, of the rounds in the FA Cup. We got some big ones there. So where should we go first? Who should be the biggest loser? Should we go with Heath Pierce, the Arsenal fan, or Jimmy Conrad, the Newcastle fan? Richest club in the world, losing to Cambridge United. Where should we go? Jimmy?
Heath. Like, Arsenal actually has a vibe about them. They're winning something, and then they didn't against Nottingham Forest. So I want to hear what Heath has to say.
That's true. And Nicholas Murray, by the way, Cambridge United fan as well here. So he's going to be saving up for that one. But Heath, give me your thoughts. Nottingham Forest 1-0 against the Arsenal. Thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still not as bad as Newcastle, but it is bad because Arsenal are in form, as Jimmy mentioned, and it's an unacceptable loss. What I will say about this game, though, is there's been about a month or so that I felt a little bit stale of the teams that I follow and support. You know, I'll watch a City game because it's nice football, and I'll watch other games because of certain contexts about them. But when you see these cup competitions and what they mean to teams in the lower divisions, it just made me so happy again. Obviously, there's an American as the CEO at Nottingham Forest, and Dane Murphy, who was the one that brought Daryl DK to Barnsley before and kind of got a lot of credit, which helped him to get this new job at Forest. So I'm happy for him. But just to see the excitement and also to see teams that get to the final 10 minutes and have no problem booting the ball as far as they can up the pitch or out of bounds and doing all these shenanigans, it was just nice to see again, and it made me happy. Obviously, I'm disappointed in the way Arsenal played. I think it's fully unacceptable. I think it's a really poor performance. And yeah, there's no other way around it other than to say that it's completely unacceptable. However, Nottingham Forest put up a fight and did what most teams in the championship know how to do, and that's fight and say, you know what, I'm going to make it really, really hard and make it ugly, and we'll play ugly, and we'll scrap, and every ball we're going to challenge for, and we're going to be first to 50-50s, and all the things that you hear as cliches in a locker room where it's like, get into the first challenge, win the second balls, get up in the air, go up with your elbow, like all of those things that made Arsenal uncomfortable from start to finish. They did, and so full credit to Nottingham Forest.
Well, I'll jump in and say that this is the second time that Arsenal have been eliminated in the third round of the FA Cup for only in the last 26 seasons. Now, I also should have mentioned when we were going which team we're going to talk about first. Arsenal have won more FA Cup trophies than anybody else. Of course, we got to talk about them getting knocked out. Newcastle, I don't even remember how many they won. It's definitely on one hand, if any hands at this point.
So far, though, Jimmy. So far, they got
yeah, maybe that changes in the next 20 years when we win 13 straight or whatever with all of our oil money. But yeah, this is the one thing I'm going to say, and I'll say it for Newcastle as well. If you're going to get knocked out in a cup competition, you might as well do it in the first possible round. Now you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to commit extra resources of time and energy and effort to try to are we going to go for it this year? And now you can just settle in and be like, all right, we're focusing on the domestic league and we're focusing on Europe, which Arsenal doesn't have either. So all they have to worry about is the domestic league. Well, I guess they got League Cup semifinals too. But outside of that, that's it. And we saw how well, and we can use Inter Milan as an example, who had that at the end of the year, and then the last third of the season really kicked on because that's all Antonio Conte and his men had to concentrate on. And I think Mikel Arteta, given the talent that he has and what they've displayed already this season, could really use that to their advantage. So if you get knocked out, do it as soon as possible because you don't want to commit all that time and then lose in the semifinals and you're in the same exact spot you were if you'd lost in the third round.
Yeah, and to your point, two big objectives for respective clubs. Arsenal, they want a Champions League spot. That's what they want, the most important thing. And Newcastle, at this point, they want to stay in the Premier League, of course. By the way, shout out to Poppy Miller, Nottingham Forest fan, by the way. He was loving that victory. All right, well, listen, Des, I know that you put up the scores earlier. Maybe you can put it up again, but there was some great results, by the way. Boreham Wood, that was fun, by the way. Oh, yes, Alan Shearer, of course, he said, well done, Cambridge. Pathetic NUFC. Yeah, Kieran Trippier, by the way, leaving Atleti to come to this. But look, here are all the results. Boreham Wood, by the way, in the 5th tier. But Kidderminster, to me, is the story. Beating Reading. Kidderminster plays in the National League North. That's the 6th tier of English football. 79 places below Reading, by the way. And my goodness, they got that win. Go to the Twitter account, by the way. Absolutely amazing. But these are the remaining results from the third round. We got one more. We'll talk about it in a second. But Heath, any thoughts from all of these results? I mean, the FA Cup is so magical because of this very reason. In many ways, the antithesis of obviously Super League narratives, etc.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing from a bigger club standpoint was the Leicester-Watford game, and I thought Leicester were really impressive in that match, winning 4-1. But outside of that, again, I just love to look at some of these smaller clubs and that are kind of grinding their way through these performances. If you've ever been to a Millwall match, I recommend that as well. They fell to Crystal Palace, but I just love to see some of these teams again come to life and challenge, because you can see all sort of bets go off, the form, the style of play, and all of these things. If you watch some of these games, it's just like you flying challenges and all kinds of wild things happening. So yeah, just overall a really fun weekend on those matches.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in and kind of put a button on this Newcastle stuff. It was disappointing. We were at home against College Town, you know what I mean, in Cambridge, and we should do better. And I thought we created enough chances to at least get a goal in that one. But similar to what Nottingham Forest did to Arsenal, you got to fight, you got to scrap, you got to do the little things, you got to win the 50-50 balls, you got to win the second balls to really put yourself in a position to beat these types of teams. And they just wanted a little bit more, and that proved to be the difference. Now, the same rhetoric I was using for Arsenal is the same. Arsenal's trying to fight for the top 4. That's what matters. They want that Champions League money. They want to be in that competition. Yeah. Newcastle just need to survive. Whether we won the FA Cup for the first time since 1955, we won it 4 times, by the way. Thanks, producer Des, for making me sound smarter. We're not going to probably win it. We don't have the team to actually survive. So just get out of it. We play Watford this upcoming weekend. We are 2 points behind them in the table. Okay, they're out of the relegation zone. We're in it. That game matters more than this game against Cambridge. And that's the reality of Newcastle's situation. So, yes, it hurts, but we got to move on to next week. And we need to see a reaction. You can say all the apologies. You can go to Twitter and Instagram and apologize for how you didn't. I don't give a shit about any of that. Show up against Watford and all will be forgiven. Yeah,
and that's yet still to be seen in the league as well. So Newcastle have a mountain to climb. Let's throw out those fourth round fixtures that will be coming up. Palace, Hartlepool, of course, there's a bunch. I'm not going to read all of them, but Chelsea, Plymouth is interesting, obviously. But it's always great to see different leagues fight against each other, specifically when it's the Premier League mighty. Man City, Fulham is I wish it was the other way around. Craven Cottage is always a great stadium. But there is one more game in the third round.
Is Des trying to, but hold on, is Des trying to troll me with this Nottingham Forest or Arsenal against Leicester on here?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was all those. He did text me at 3 a.m. saying, you know what, I'm going to make Heath Pierce's life a living.
Yeah. I'm just going to add these names as if it's still up in the air.
But there is one more game in the third round, and that's Monday, and that's Manchester United against Villa for the 478th millionth time. We always draw Man United away in the third round. Jimmy, thoughts? United, Villa.
I just don't know who Ralph Rangnick's going to start. Obviously, he's missing a few players. Maguire's out, or doubtful at least. Bailly's gone for Africa Cup of Nations. Pogba's out. And Lindelof, as I just mentioned. So you got Phil Jones. Maybe he gets a run out. I don't know who else. I mean, is Wan-Bissaka your guy? Is it Diogo Dalot? I mean, Telles, it's McTominay, Fred, McSauce, they should be out there. Then who? Is it Lingard, Bruno Fernandes, Ronaldo, Rashford? I mean, I don't know. I just don't know who he's going to roll out. And I don't know how the players are going to respond to whoever he decides to choose. So this is a really, really pivotal game. And I know that United have only lost once under Ralph Rangnick, but it feels like the sky's falling. And it will definitely fall some more if they get knocked out here to Aston Villa at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy. I just look at this and I go, I feel like life in some context, and this is terrible to say, becomes easier when a club has this many players and there are injuries and COVID situations where you're forced to like sort of work with a certain team. We know he's going to go with the 4-2-2-2-2-2-2-2-2-2 as far as he can go, but I don't know who he's going to put in there. I don't know who's going to perform. I don't know who's ready to go. I was a huge fan of Greenwood. Now I'm like, man, the internet's convincing me I shouldn't believe in Greenwood. I was a huge fan of Greenwood and Fernandes, and now I'm reading Fernandes is going to be on his way out to somewhere else because he wants to leave. And I just, I wonder who Rangnick's going to trust in and who's going to give their trust back to him and buy into the process, because it's kind of a little bit of a give or take right now where the players come in, new players want to prove themselves, new chance for life, but Sancho hasn't really rewarded him with much so far. Greenwood hasn't rewarded much so far, so I just wonder who's going to come on there. But I mean, on the flip side, Luis, I think this is a surely winnable game for Aston Villa. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the Coutinho situation.
Yeah, I mean, well, Michael Oliver is reffing this game, so I'm never gonna go Villa. So make that a what you. But the same call to action to everybody, by the way, like, subscribe, and get in the comments. But what are your thoughts, of course, over this game, United Villa and Felipe Coutinho to Aston Villa as he makes his way for a loan? Villa's paying a percentage of his salary. There's a option to buy later on, which is around 35 million euros, which is not too bad. Listen, in my opinion, as a Villa fan, it's a gamble. It's a good gamble. I wrote about it on CBS Sports, but non-Villa fans need to know this. We were 15th in the championship a few years ago, okay? 15th. We made the playoff final, came back to the Premier League, just avoided relegation by the skin of our teeth. The fact that now we have a tight trio in Ollie Watkins, Emiliano Buendia, and now Felipe Coutinho, who is looking once again to revitalize himself. You know, he needs to be not the main dish, but one of the main dishes. And that didn't happen at Bayern. It didn't happen at Barcelona, but it can happen. We have seen it. He was the best Brazilian player at the World Cup in 2018. He's done it for Inter Milan. Pochettino did it for him in Espanyol. He can do it again with his friend, Steven Gerrard. I think it's a really good gamble. Now we're thinking about Lucas Digne as well, that maybe be coming in. It's a lot of ambition for Villa. This game in particular, just like United needs a reaction, to Jimmy's point, Villa needs a reaction because of that loss against Brentford. It wasn't a pretty way to lose. I think there was a lot of toothless performances. So I'm intrigued to see how this. And by the way, right after this game, Jimmy, we play Man United one more time in the Premier League as well. So it's like it's trying to get
a two-legged affair here, LME.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have a question because you're so passionate about Aston Villa. Can Buendia and Coutinho play together? Well, is there a lineup where they can coexist, or do you feel like it's just one or the other?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Chuck Booth, our writer, wrote about it as well, about, sort of balancing these acts. I see it as two ways. One, obviously, you can see Coutinho as a number 10, right? Which is what Emiliano Buendia is. And then you kind of can slot them right under Ollie Watkins, whether one sort of disadvantages himself because of the others is to question. But then there's the other scenario, especially when Leon Bailey comes back to fitness, which is you have Leon Bailey on the left, and then Emiliano Buendia goes a little bit further right. And then you now have Coutinho at the top of the triangle, the midfield behind Watkins. There are things that you can do. I think ultimately it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, of course.
That to me is the one thing that I'm looking at. And I'm excited to it. And I go back to my original point. The fact that Coutinho is a Villa player, at the very least on loan. As a Villa fan, somebody that was cheering for them when they were 15th in the championship, 5 points above relegation to League One. This is unbelievable stuff. Heath, I don't know if you wanted to add anything before we move on.
No, I mean, my only worry with these types of players is these windows go so long that the memory we had of them, I just wonder if they can get back to their level. Obviously, the Gerrard connection is there, and he's done well in the Premier League in terms of that fast-paced transition type of game that I hope that is the case. Obviously, taking a big wage cut to be able to go on this loan to help Barcelona on the way. He's doing a lot of the things right. And by the way, the last thing I would say is the Digne stuff, if that actually happens, I mean, Jimmy, what about Maximin tweeting out there, is Digne coming? I don't know if you saw that
quote tweeting.
Sometimes I don't try to pay attention to Newcastle stuff for mental health reasons. So as much as I appreciate ASM putting some pressure on Digne to come, like, hey, come join the party because we need you, like, and about 5 other people. It doesn't look like Digne has any hope or any desire to go play for Newcastle. So, if he's out, then let's just focus on who's next up. And I heard that Sven Botman from Lille.
I mean, that would be massive.
It'd be a massive. And he said he wanted to come, and I couldn't believe it. I almost fell out of my chair. So right now, my mental health's in a decent spot, but we need to beat Watford. All right, cool.
But there's a tweet, by the way, from ASM trying to play Ari Gold here and trying to grab Lucas.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely, so funny. I love the fact that he quoted Fabrizio as well. By the way, ASM, thank you for not having like a social media manager and just being yourself and tweeting stuff. We need to see more of that. By the way, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Africa Cup of Nations debuted today. Some great results. LaLiga as well. Is Vini Jr. and Benzema the best duo in the world? We talk about much more games in LaLiga, the Bundesliga, and of course the final thoughts. Qué Golazo weekend recap. Heath Pierce, Jimmy Conrad. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Weekend Recap. Qué Golazo, Jimmy Conrad, Heath Pierce. All right, let's talk about Africa Cup of Nations. By the way, our preview is getting a lot of praise because we got some great guests in it. By the way, thank you so much. And make sure that you keep tuning in on that one. But it debuted today. Cameroon 2-1 against Burkina Faso. Vincent Abubakar cancels out Gustavo Sangare's Golazo opener with 2 penalties, by the way. And Ethiopia against Cape Verde. Yared Baez sent off in the 12th minute, and Cape Verde wins it as well. But amazing stuff. Let's begin with that opening game there, Jimmy Conrad. Cameroon, they were 1-0 down, and they got that win.
What a goal, by the way, by Burkina Faso. If you're going to watch a goal, it's just what a way to start the tournament. It was such a well-taken
cross.
goal.
Aston Villa's Traore's cross, amazing.
Good. It was so good, and maybe Onana could have done a little bit better on the cross, but still, what a finish. So if you're going to go check out some highlights, make sure you take a look at that goal in particular. Now, I don't know. Cameroon's hosting the tournament. Cameroon gets 2 penalties after being down a goal. I'm just throwing that out there. Now, I thought that both were penalties, so take that for what it is. But still, a little sketch, especially right before halftime, and they got 2 goals. I'm just throwing that. But a good performance by the Indomitable Lions. You obviously want to start the tournament with 3 points when you're hosting the whole tournament and getting the fans behind you, getting that sense of belief, which I think will carry them on to the knockout rounds. With regard to Ethiopia and Cape Verde, I thought Cape Verde were the better team, even if it was still 11v11. I thought they were driving the game. Ethiopia kind of hanging on for the whole time. So pleasantly surprised to see how Cape Verde performed. I'm curious to see how they do the rest of the group, because they then now have Cameroon and Burkina Faso, who might be the 2 best teams in the group. So Burkina Faso has some work to do. But yeah, it's a great tournament, and the energy is fantastic, and the passion for the game. It's just like you see everywhere else. And the fact that it's not on more TV sets around the world is a bit disappointing, because there's a lot of special players and teams performing in this.
The only thing I would add to that is, as I was watching that game, the first match, the opener of the tournament, I started to think about Christina Uncle when she was talking about a few months ago how different cultures allow different things. And when she was talking about the Caribbean nations and how you go down there and it's just different, like what's acceptable for a challenge. These challenges fly. I mean, you're talking about like 3-4 step full lunge challenges, and you're talking about yellow cards, warnings, and things like that. And the action of it culturally, it's just a lot of fun to watch. And then you take that as a continent, and you just start to mix in all these different cultures, and it's just such a great tournament that I can't wait for the number of potential red cards that are going to happen just from flying challenges and people getting heated. But yeah, great start to the tournament.
No, it's a great point, Heath Pierce. Before we move on and show you Monday's fixtures, I haven't asked these 2 boys because they weren't part of the preview, but who do you have your money on winning the whole thing? And that's a call to action to everybody. Write in on the message board. Who do you have winning Africa Cup of Nations? Jimmy, who do you have?
Well, with all due respect to Algeria, who won it last time, I'm going to go with Senegal. You got Sadio Mane. I think he's going to be up for it. You got Edouard Mendy in goal. You got Koulibaly, who apparently is healthy for this, even though he'd been hurt with Napoli for a while. Ismaila Sarr, Idrissa Gueye, Bounassar. They got a team. They got a team, and a team that I think maybe is the most balanced. I mean, Algeria will be there, and there's other teams, of course, that you could say, well, they got some balance too. But I think they got balance. They got a little bit of depth, and I think Senegal are going to be my choice. And
it would be for the first time. They've never won it.
You know what? There's been, in the last 5 Africa Cup of Nations, there's been 5 different winners. Why not Senegal this time around?
Absolutely. Heath?
Yeah, if it's not Senegal, it's Algeria. They won the Arab Cup. I was watching that pretty closely, and just the way that they play, the style that they play, the intensity, the system that they play. It's a beautiful style of football. It's aggressive. It's fast-paced, but at the same time, they have a number of technical players. And it just seems to win out over time. They can make a lot of these teams, because when you talk about the Africa Cup of Nations, it's similar to, actually, I don't know what it would be compared to in terms of style of play, because you have such a wide range of styles of play there that they can make teams really suffer for long periods for lack of possession. They're very good on the counterattack. They've got a lot of speed and transition, and a number of those players play at those types of clubs. So I have, if it's not going to be Jimmy's selection, I'm going to go with Algeria.
No, yeah, Algeria was my choice. Jamal Belmadi, who used to play for Southampton, he's the manager, very good manager. They're very talented, but to your point, very organized, structured off the ball as well. Elias, thank you. Koulibaly's out with COVID as well with Mendy. Is that true? Well, we'll have to get
just making it more. Ilyas, we see you, and this is part of the challenge. They'll be fine. To get to the knockout rounds, they'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah, Ilyas, I appreciate the update, though. Well done. Thank you so much. But yeah, Senegal still a force. But here are the fixtures for Monday. Senegal, Zimbabwe. Morocco against Ghana, Guinea against Malawi. Comoros, by the way, debut in the tournament. Their mascot, a prehistoric old fish. They're my favorite team just because of that. And Gabon without Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who also, by the way, got COVID. So that's Africa Cup of Nations. But let us know the team that you think will win it all. All right, let's go from Africa to LaLiga. And it's getting very exciting once again, I guess, in terms of goals. The last game of the weekend was Villarreal 2, Atletico Madrid 2. Angel Correa with a golazo from just inside the halfway line. We'll say it's the halfway line. Why not? But Kondogbia spares further Rojiblanco blushes because they were 2-1 down and Atleti get that point. Jimmy, Atleti, thoughts? I mean, it's not a win, but at least it's not a loss against a Villarreal who looked like we're going to have 3 points.
I predicted a draw, so I'm happy that I was right with regard to that. Villarreal, though, has been fantastic ever since Gerard Moreno. It's really got back to top form. He had an assist today, and I think he missed the penalty, if I'm not mistaken, but he just is dangerous. And if you don't track him into midfield, he's going to beat you with that pass that's going to unlock a player to go through, as he did with Moreno. My concern with Atleti is the defense. They're not going to win anything. They're not going to have any deep runs in Europe or in the cup competitions if they can't defend consistently. And it's so against type when I think about a Cholo Simeone managed team that I don't have words, because he's got so much talent at his disposal. I say it every time we talk about Atleti. I just don't know if he knows what his best 11 is or his best formation with the current group of players that he has. But I want to give a shout out to Angel Correa. That was an unbelievable goal. He's now got 3 goals in his last 2 games. And when he plays, I just feel like they're a little bit more dynamic. He's just got to find the right partner to partner with up top and midfielders that are underneath him.
Yeah, by the way, the pen was missed, but Dani Parejo scored from the rebound. The VAR ruled it out for handball. Heath, go ahead.
That's right.
No, it's another one of those situations where obviously a bad square ball leads to an unbelievable goal from the half line. And then from there, it was weird because you would think that would wake up Atletico Madrid into being a little bit different. But instead, Villarreal just started playing. And they started playing better. And they started to control possession. And they started to have a really good flow where you could just feel this swing where you're like, this doesn't feel like it's supposed to happen after scoring a goal. But overall, you look at the result of this game, and both teams have to be happy to be able to get out of that with a point. Obviously, Villarreal probably a little more disappointed. But if you're Atletico Madrid, you continue to look at these situations and you go, man, we had it all to lose, and we just can't seem to figure it out. We can't figure out how to be the Sevilla of this year, like we've been for the last decade, and it's a little bit disappointing because it's not like it's a revamped roster. It's not like it's a new style of play or a new philosophy. And I just wonder if that burnout, if that actual recipe is actually the burnout that's happening with this team right now.
Well, the other side of the capital, Real Madrid, after losing their first game of the year against Getafe, they won in the cup, and then they said, screw this, Valencia, 4-1, and Vinicius Jr., Karim Benzema. I mean, listen, first of all, Heath and Jimmy, you jump after this, but are they the best duo in world football right now?
I don't see any. I just don't see who else could be better than them in the form that they're in. The fact that, and again, this it makes me sad every time we have to talk about this in the form that they're in right now, because we talk about Benzema in the context that he has. I think he just hit 300 goals or 301 goals, and he's clearly going to pass Raul, who I think is ahead of him. And then obviously Ronaldo at the top, and what is it, Messi, Ronaldo, and Raul or something like that. But for those goals, I think it's the Ronaldo, whatever. That's not important. I've lost track of those numbers, but it just it disappoints me to have to talk about him in the context of form when he's done it so consistently for so long. However, when I think about Vinicius Jr., and I'm Holland, and I'm figuring out what club is going to trigger my 68 million whatever release clause, I'm like, okay, that looks pretty attractive to me. I can form this combination. This guy's going to get me balls in good spots. He's going to run off my shoulder. I'm going to be able to spin off and get into these good spots. But you look at Benzema and where he gets the ball, where he finds his spots in front of goal. He's put into such good positions. And when he gets those chances, they're the same type of goals that I think Holland's able to score. So I can't, I mean, just thinking across the globe, I'm having trouble thinking about a two-person. I mean, obviously, I wish it would be PSG because that'd be pretty entertaining. But there's nobody else that I can see in form right now that's better than them, or at least more in tune with each other and getting the most out of each other than the two of those guys right now.
I'm going to have to jump in and say Robert Lewandowski with 20 goals and Thomas Müller with 14 assists so far in the Bundesliga. Could be two guys that are always in tune with each other. They combine for the goal this weekend.
Well, they lost this weekend, Jimmy.
They did.
They lost.
But the goal that Lewandowski scored was assisted by Thomas Müller, who's looking for that entry pass. Good turn by Lewandowski, and he buries it. Now, that's true. They did lose to Mönchengladbach. They had a bit of a
Are they a better duo than Vini and Benzema?
Currently, I'm going to say they're probably behind them. But when you look at kind of like all of
big win.
2021.
No, but the current situation though, Vinicius Jr. and Benzema for what they're doing.
They're unstoppable, these two, and you can't. And it's tough. And they're not set in the same way. I mean, Muller plays underneath Lewandowski. Vinicius plays a little bit wider. Benzema. You got Mo Salah on 16 goals. Diogo Jota has 10 goals. They both are the top two scorers in Liverpool.
Worthy mention
in the Premier League. And then Sadio Mane is in 6th with goals with 8. So and Jota has 10 and Salah has 16. There probably is an argument to be made for those guys being a great
We'll give them
partnership
the
as well.
trio. We'll give them the best trio in football.
Fine,
give them the best trio.
It's like giving Robert Lewandowski the best forward award and then giving the Ballon d'Or to Messi, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe they get the best trio and these two get the best duo, but I think Lewandowski and Muller definitely deserve the shout.
Have Real Madrid woken up then? Have they woken up from that little hangover they had against Getafe now and they're fully in control? I mean, Sevilla still has a game in hand, but Jimmy, what do you think? Real Madrid still looking good in that poll? And by the way, before you answer, Heath, to your point, Cristiano Ronaldo, 450 goals for Real Madrid. Raul, 323. Di Stefano, 308. Karim Benzema, 301. So Di Stefano for sure. Raul, you would think so. It just probably needs another season, I would imagine.
I hope he scores it in Di Stefano's stadium that they played in all last year.
That would be interesting. But Jimmy, Real Madrid, how they looking?
I would say that yes. So the clear favorites to win La Liga. Sevilla, for me, this is going to be an interesting time for them. As I look at their schedule, they got Betis away, which is the El Gran Derby. They have, and that's in the Copa del Rey. They got Valencia, Celta Vigo, Osasuna, Elche, and then they start the knockout rounds in the Europa League with Dinamo Zagreb. And then they got Espanyol, and then they got Zagreb. I mean, that, as much as that schedule seems manageable, and they should, in theory, win all those games, this is where it's going to, for me, going to be determined. It's not going to be going against the Atletis and Barcelona's and Real Madrid. This is going to make or break their season. Can they manage playing in Europe? Can they manage the cup competition? Can they manage their domestic form and still get results? That's going to be the big test for Sevilla. And I'm still very curious. Rafa Mir scored today or this weekend to beat the Getafe. So they got a lot of 1-0 wins, which I really appreciate. Cholo Simeone should take notes on how that's done. But that's going to be the difference. Can they manage that? And are they going to sign anybody in the January transfer window? Because I feel like there were some rumors that there were some possibilities. They were trying to strengthen their squad. And I think they need to. If they really want to compete for La Liga, they need to provide some depth because Jesus Navas is like basically being put together with duct tape at this point.
Heath, final thoughts on Real Madrid?
I mean, Real Madrid are the clear favorites. The only thing I'm starting to believe more and more. Up until even this last week, I wasn't believing in Sevilla. Now with the game in hand and they're 5 points behind, I do think that there is an argument there. I mean, when I think about Bunu, who has led all teams last season in clean sheets across more than 50% of their matches were clean sheets, and then even I think for him for club and country where it was that stat. And then even this year, they're 8 or 9 clean sheets so far, and they're continuing to build it. That's where I see the hope. And every week, I'm having a little bit more belief that they can keep pace because of that foundation. That's no longer a fluke to me. It's built over a couple of seasons. I wonder, like Jimmy said, if they're capable of bringing in a player or two in this January transfer window to be able to score more goals or to create a little bit less pressure than having to be perfect in your back 4 or 5 or 6 every single game. But yeah, I just entered my first bit of doubt with Real Madrid in terms of being able to run away from things because I do think Sevilla can keep tight. I just don't know if they'll have enough by the end of the season. It's really funny. Carlo Ancelotti, I feel, just came in and said, guys, what's the big deal here? Modric, Casemiro, Cruz, leave that alone. And then everything else, it'll work itself out. Sometimes the answer is simple. But when you go to Barcelona, by the way, Dani Alves, his last assist was against Granada in 2016 until his assist against Granada this time around with Luke de Jong. But they tied that game, and it's El Clasico on Wednesday in the Supercopa semifinal. Jimmy, is this, I mean, Pedri and Ferran Torres, obviously,
they're out. But is this one of these underwhelming Clásicos? Do you feel like one of the most, if not the most?
Underwhelming, I guess, in some capacity, because you don't have necessarily the star power, but there's a really interesting narrative as to where these two clubs are currently in their evolution, or let's say for Barcelona's sake, the post-Messi evolution, and now with Xavi taking over. What are they going to look like? Who are they going to lean on? Who's going to step up in big moments in these? Because we could say, yeah, this game doesn't have a lot on it, but then all of a sudden you could have a Pedri who scores an absolute screamer in the 87th minute to win it, and he becomes an absolute hero for the club, and he probably will be for a long period of time. But you need those types of moments, and who's going to step up? Right now they're relying on Luke de Jong. The guy scored goals, and you're like, cool, that guy shouldn't be wearing a Barcelona shirt, but here we are.
The one guy they want to get rid of, they're like, oh, damn it, he keeps scoring.
I know he does, and he's very good at it. He's very good in the box. Sevilla used him to great effect to win a Europa League not too long ago. It's just funny. I just don't look at Luke de Jong as a Barcelona player, same as I look at Marwan Fellaini as a Manchester United player. Just like, what? My brain can't accept it. It's not real.
Yeah.
But this is a big opportunity for Barcelona, especially at home, to kind of let Real Madrid know that they're still a force to be reckoned with. And I think there's a lot to play for there. Then conversely for Madrid, obviously it's a time for them to kind of, put their hand right on the little head of Barcelona. Oh, you got a lot of cute little young players, but you suck. We're better than you right now, and really kind of exert their dominance. And that this dominance could extend for a couple of years, especially if Mbappe comes in, and if Haaland decides to join Mbappe as well, which I think would be a little unfair to everybody else in Europe. But yeah, it's an interesting game, a big game for Barcelona, because right after that they have Athletic Club de Bilbao, which is not going to be any easier. So
yeah, this was in Saudi Arabia, by the way. This game.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, short trip. Short trip. No, I agree. I do think it's one of the most one-sided in history. However, I'm trying to preface this for where Barcelona are in this project right now. You can put out a good performance, still lose this game, and I think there's still some progress to be made if you put up a good fight. I go back to 2010 as like the most lopsided season that I remember, where Barcelona beat Real Madrid in the spring 5-0. They went on to win the Champions League that year. They won the league and then lost the cup to Real Madrid in the end from taking the treble. But for this season, I just see that being lopsided, but almost acceptingly lopsided, where Real Madrid feel like they are at the end of an era, and this is sort of the last hurrah of, like, you talk about Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Modric had some nice moments today in the match, and he still looks young on some levels. But for the most part, when you think about a super club, there's going to be some cycling out of there, whereas Barcelona feel like they're on a decent place in terms of bringing players to the academy. There's a lot of inconsistency, but go forward 20 more games from now, these players are more experienced. So getting a chance for these young guys, if they put out a young squad, I think a chance to get this experience, to feel the pressure, to know what it's like, who you're going to have to beat if you want to win the league someday, because you're talking about a lot of young players with not much experience in this Barcelona side. So I feel like it is the most lopsided that I can remember. However, I think Barcelona can get things out of this game that aren't just about sort of the results. By the way, they would have moved into third or fourth place had they won this match over the weekend.
Yeah, it's very tight. They're six, still 1 point behind Real Sociedad, Atleti 33, Real Betis. So it's still up for grabs. But to your point, the Supercopa will be a good experience for them. Real Madrid, to their point, they just want to win the Liga again, and that's really their main thing as well with Champions League. All right, we're gonna leave Spain. Sevilla beats Getafe 1-0. Rayo Betis 1-0. But let's go to the Bundesliga. Obviously, the USMNT hour, these two are going to get way more into it. Grant Hall will join as well, and they'll have a good discussion. But Ricardo Pepi did make his debut. I mean, Augsburg did lose, but still, how did it feel there, Heath Pierce, to see Ricardo Pepi jump in and get on the pitch? I know that you sometimes can leave the romanticism for it, right? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'm just I told Jimmy, as I said in the preview, that you throw them on, you play them right away. They obviously didn't do that because they're smarter than me, and not emotional like I am. He played the final 30, but this is the photo. This is
way too big for him.
Yeah, that's fine. This is a guy, Chris Richards,
like a Batman villain.
Yeah, and maybe that's
like he's wearing that coat from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, when I look at this photo, I see Chris Richards that's like just hit that match bonus, baby, after going down 1-0.
Yeah, he's okay. Happy.
Then we came back and we win this one. I'm happy right now. I started in this match. And then I look at Ricardo Pepi, and he's got this face of like, I made a huge mistake. You know, and,
No.
I mean, look at it. His team is going to suffer for the end of the year. Do I think it's good for his development?
Shocked.
Yes. He's culture shocked. I'm happy that he got his debut. I'm happy that he's going to probably be starting more or very soon be starting because you can justify the start now that you've gotten him some minutes. The team needs him to play these games. But when I think about Augsburg, and I don't think about 20 million. I don't think about a team that's well built around him. I think about a team that spent a lot of money on an 18-year-old who just happy birthday to him, by the way. Today's his birthday. He's 19, so he's not a young talent anymore. He's got to prove himself. You know,
he's still 19. He's not a young talent.
I'm tired of talking potential. He's 19 years old now. Do something. But no, I mean, honestly, I'm happy for him there. But at the same time, he's got a lot to learn, and they're going to need it quickly. And I'm a bit worried about similar to Wolfsburg, where I'm happy he's not there because they lost again this weekend. Where
you're just really mad because he still has his PS4. Your PS4.
Listen, I just don't know what to expect from Augsburg because they're not a big club. They spent a ton of money on this player. They're not well structured to serve him the ball or get him the service that he needs. But we've seen that with the national team that he can get his half chance or his full chance when he's in form and start delivering. So I hope that he gets more minutes and can deliver for his team. But I'm also happy for Chris Richards to get the W and another match for him because we need the national team playing games, guys. Games, matches of consequence, important games because we don't have a lot of guys getting minutes right now.
No, and minutes are minutes, as you say, and important minutes, meaningful minutes where they're getting tested and having to solve problems out on the field. So he comes in, they're down 2-1. How can he help? Even though he doesn't really know his teammates, he hasn't been there very long, probably doesn't even really know where he should be moving in relation to everybody else. But he's got to go out there and solve problems. And I think that he had a pretty pragmatic, let's say 30 minutes. He was pressing, right? That's to be expected. That's what he does very well. He's trying to put himself in good spots. He's trying to play simple. I mean, if I was his coach, I'd be like, listen, just get out there, play what you see. If you have an opportunity to lay it and go and maybe create some space, there was a good opportunity for him to do that. His teammate wasn't good enough to get him the ball. He would have been probably one-on-one with the goalkeeper, which would have been awesome and maybe would have changed the outcome of the game or in some capacity got him a goal and would have been a nice start. But I didn't really mind it. What I mind so much is just, is he going to get the service? Is he surrounded by players that are actually going to bring out what he's capable of and can play to his strengths? We see that with Josh Sargent. I'll use him as an example. Werder Bremen, okay, but we've probably seen enough of Josh Sargent now to know, okay, maybe it's not the team he's playing on. Maybe he's just not good enough. And that's a fair conversation to have. But when he goes to Norwich, we're all like, why? He's just going to chase the ball for 90 minutes if he gets to play. That's not really playing to his strengths and what it's about. So I worry about that with Ricardo Pepi to the points that Heath was making with regard to Augsburg. Are they good enough? Wolfsburg probably would have got him the ball. They got a little bit more talent in different areas of the field. Lucas Mecca comes to mind, and if he wanted to partner with Wout Weghorst. But I don't know. It's tough. It's really early days, of course. I'm curious to see how the next game goes, especially if he starts, how he looks. But ultimately, when you have a player out there, and what we want from a U.S. men's national team perspective is our players playing in situations that are difficult, and they have to figure out how to solve problems because that's going to help them get better. And when they get tested in big games, they're going to be comfortable in solving those problems because they have already worked out those answers before.
Yeah, let him unpack his suitcase. Let him get his coat hanger sorted out, and then we'll see how it develops. But these two will be talking way more about this, and of course the rest of the USMNT chatter on Monday tomorrow with Grant Wall. All right, well, Bayern lost, Borussia lost as well, so all the same as is in the Bundesliga. So we're just gonna jump to the final thoughts as we say goodbye. Plenty to discuss everywhere. We didn't even mention Lyon. PSG, they drew. Marseille, by the way, they end their 44-year winless run away to Bordeaux. And there was some nepotism in Portugal, but it was a good one where Porto coach Pedro Conceição brings on his son Francisco in the 87th minute. 2 minutes later, he scores the winner against Estoril, and it was amazing. He goes to hug him, and his dad kind of hugs him, but also gives him that really hard smack that only your dad can give you. It was really great. But final thoughts as we say goodbye. Jimmy Conrad.
Yeah, I mean, just on that segue, I'll take what you said about father and son, having a great moment. I just want to see the same thing at Toronto FC this year with Bob and Michael Bradley. I need to see some head slaps. I need to see some kisses on the cheek like we saw there between the Conceiçãos. I want to see all of that. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be severely disappointed.
It's a good point. Heath.
I don't know how to follow up from that. That's just a funny and
Well,
a funny,
maybe?
a wonderful, Insigne is the real son and the father there. And I'm actually interested. That's a great point. I'm interested to see how he does. I'm interested to see how he integrates into the team. Obviously, Bob Bradley's done a good job in the past of dealing with Carlos Vela, who doesn't do any media, does his own thing, is on his own schedule, trains as hard as he wants, and still got some good performances out of him. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But overall, that's pretty much my final thoughts from the weekend. I'm excited to see this Man United Aston Villa match.
Absolutely. I can't wait till we obviously naturally concede a penalty at some point. Thank you, Michael Oliver. But anyway, that was it, by the way. Thank you so much for being part of the family. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Qué Golazo Pod. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcast, Stitcher. Leave a 5-star rating and review. YouTube.com, baby. We're more than 7,000. We're getting to that 8,000 now. Help us keep growing. But Heath Pierce and Jimmy Conrad will be back on Monday for USMNT Hour. I'll be talking to Fabrizio Romano for the latest transfer news. We got so much more to come in the week, including weekend preview and so much more. But Jimmy Conrad, thank you so much, my man.
Thank you, LME. Thank you, Heath. Thank you, Christine and producer Des. And everybody listening, of course. We appreciate you.
Oh, man, you did that so well. Heath Pierce, thank you, buddy.
I gotta follow this again. Jimmy's on a roll right now. Talking about a politician. Thank you, Luis. I appreciate you coming in. You're the best host we've ever had. You're the best host we'll ever get. Just saying.
Heath, you win, Heath. You win. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a great beginning to your week. We'll see you next time.